The best melee weapons in Project Zomboid by damage per second. If you found this video, you probably realized by now that no one in Zomboid is talking about DPS. You'll find dozens, maybe like hundreds of people on YouTube and the forums who are ready to tell you what they think the best weapons are and why, and they're going to provide beautiful context, lived stories, and basically everything except the cold hard numbers for these weapons. Why is that? I'm Traumanaut, this is my Project Zomboid channel, and we're back in the Deep Dive series today. We're about to find those hard facts about the best weapons in Zomboid, and just why they've been so hard to find. A little bit of self-service first though. This is still a new channel, and we're just past a month into it, and I'm sitting at just under 50 subscribers right now. If you get into this video and you think it's for you, you would make my day by finally helping push that subscriber number over 50 for me. In any case, thanks for watching. Let's get into it. So, to get to the bottom of this DPS mystery, we have to look at how to calculate DPS in a game like Project Zomboid, and in doing so, you're going to see exactly how I arrived at this top 10 list. Now, if you want to skip the math on this, just skip ahead to the next chapter, because we are about to get nerdy and peek behind the curtain here, or like, peek behind the nailed-up bedsheet that the Zomboid Wizard of Oz hides behind. Okay, so at first this sounds easy, right? To get the damage per second, we just got to take a weapon's damage and multiply that by the number of attacks per second. Easy, done, right? No, wrong. First, in the Zomboid wiki or your game files, you're going to see that the weapons don't have a flat damage stat. They each have a range from minimum to maximum damage. So first thing we're going to do is boil that down to its middle and take the average damage as our damage number. Second, before we can look at speed, we have to remember that every weapon has a critical chance and a critical multiplier. So we multiply our damage number by that bonus to get the critical damage. Now, we can't just add critical and normal damage together because sometimes it's critical and sometimes it's just normal damage. So we need to multiply the critical damage by the chance that the hit is a critical, and then we also need to multiply the normal damage by the remaining percent, because that's the chance that we're going to have normal damage. Next, we also have to be clear about a setting that some people use, which allows for multiple hits per a single melee swing. We're going to rule out this option for now, since it's not part of the Apocalypse settings, so we're going to base our numbers on only up to 1 hit per attack. So that gives us our number for damage per attack. Alright, we've got the normal damage, critical damage, we put that together, we have 1 attack, and now we just need to look up the speed. Okay, so we go back over to the wiki and we see that the weapon speed is not really here. Well, we have this minimum swing time, so maybe we can use that. So I pop into debug mode, I grab a house load of weapons, and I just start swinging. I'm timing my swings, I'm looking for the relationship between swings per minute and that minimum swing time, and just nothing. There's no relationship between swings per minute and that minimum swing time. I play around with different skill and passive values, but I'm not seeing a pattern here. So I go into the game files myself, and I see this new thing called base speed. So I go back to the data, I go back to my swinging, and I start to go a little crazy because still nothing, no relationship. Now I'm at a loss, so I dive into the forums and I look around because surely someone has wrote about how to find base weapon speed in this game. But all I'm seeing is that since at least the enormous animations update, we do not see a clear-cut and reliable way to just read the speed on a weapon, which meant I had several more hundred zombies to kill in the name of Project Zomboid science. So I go back to the killing fields, I go back to the data, and I just start testing random possibilities, hoping that I hit on something fruitful here before it's 2 a.m., before I've wasted my evening, before I question every decision that brought me into this research and question this obsession and existence, and then I find something. Well, actually, I make something. I made something. I ran the numbers with weapon weight, base speed, a minimum swing time, regular swing time, animation category. I tried comparing everything. And it's true, there are some weapons which perfectly align with their base speed value, but there are just as many, if not more, weapons that are at a completely different speed than what that value says. And we know there are reasons for this. We know what many of the reasons are. We know that there's a combat skill level which will affect your speed. We know that many of your clothing items now affect combat speed as well, usually decreasing it. We know that certain weapon types, such as the heavy weapons, have a speed debuff applied to them. And all of these things come together with the base speed value and should tell us a predictable number. But unfortunately, there seems to be more to the picture here. And unfortunately, that picture is still not clear. I have yet to crack the formula. But at this point, I've done so much testing that I actually have all of the numbers I need. Instead of cracking the formula, I realize I've arrived at almost all of the weapon speeds by brute force alone, with the records of my tests. So, loosely speaking, from these numbers I can tell you this. We have approximately 3 tiers of weapon speeds in Project Zomboid. In the top tier, we have kind of the stabbing and spear weapons. These average about 1.13 attacks per second under ideal conditions. Then we have the largest category, kind of the swinging weapons category. It's a massive category. Most of these weapons come out at around exactly 1 one attack per second. And then finally, we have the slowest of the slow, the heavy weapons, and these all come out at 0.6 attacks per second. Okay, so done with that. Now we can get back to this discovering the DPS for these weapons. We have the normal damage per attack, we have the critical damage per attack. Now we just multiply that by the number of attacks per second, and we have our DPS. Using this shiny new formula with all of its parts in place, we can plug in all of the weapon stats for a favorite weapon of mine, like say the shovel, and see that it should do an average of about 2 damage per second. 2 damage. It sounds a little low to me, but you know, I don't actually know much about how much damage to expect here, because I don't know how much HP zombies actually have. So in the name of zombie science, we need to take this shovel out of the classroom and see these damage number for ourselves. Luckily, there's this lovely combat text mod by Resistor that will let us do just that, so thanks Resistor. Okay, so I'll just line up a zombie here, and we should see a little number 2 pop up for damage, and oh dear. After another kill or 2 to confirm the results, it appears that there's more going on here with damage than we can see from weapon stats alone. And I'll tell you, after another 1,000 weapon swings, I have learned more. It seems that on average, a weapon that has a damage value of 1 will do about 40 damage per hit when used by a character who has 5 strength. Okay, not only that, but I can confirm that we've discussed this in the deep dive videos about traits that have strength points above or below 5. They do adjust your damage up or down by about 8%, or 2 damage. So for example, a character with 10 strength will deal 40% more damage for an average of 52 damage per swing with a weapon that says 1 damage. So awesome, we got some numbers now. We're looking for DPS, and now we need to ask, DPS for whom? We see that strength is a variable, so since we've been saying the word average a lot, let's just take that average. Let's just say starting strength value of 5. So our DPS is for a character with strength 5. That means we're working with 40 points of damage for a weapon with a damage value of 1. Then we need to address changes in the character's weapon speed. I did a whole other tangent in this research while I was testing weapon speed, and in this I found that weapon skill also adjusts weapon speed by about 1% per skill point. That is to say, if you have 10 skill in something like long blade and you swing, you're swinging with 100% of that weapon's speed. However, at 0 skill, you only swing with 90% of the weapon's full potential speed. Okay? Since most of our weapon skills do start at 0 points at the start of the game, and there are a lot of players right now who understandably are not surviving for the months and months that it takes to beef up your weapon skills, let's say for our DPS number, we're going to base that on having 0 skill. So 5 strength, 0 skill. Okay, so the math is done, the setup is done. We have our DPS formula of normal damage per attack times chance of a normal hit, plus critical damage per attack times chance of a critical hit, multiplied by the amount of attacks per second. And our numbers here are going to be based on a character with 5 strength and 0 relevant skill. So, without further ado, I am super excited to present to you the absolutely best weapons for melee damage output in Project Zomboid. Okay, so first up here, we'll take a look at the honorable mentions. For many of us, they're old standbys. We love them. Coming in at about 59 damage per second, we have the Sledgehammer. This beefy chalk stick is mighty, but it's held back by being in the slow-swinging heavy weapon category. It also has a lackluster critical damage bonus, so unfortunately, this one doesn't make the top 10 cut. Next up, we have the versatile crowd favorite, easy to find, lodged in the zombie's spine in just about every neighborhood. We have the hand axe. It'll take down trees, it'll take down doors, and against the zombie, it will put out 63 damage per second. It has a lower normal base damage than most of the other weapons we'll see here, but its 5 times damage multiplier means it's up here almost swinging with the top 10 big boys. And finally, we have my personal favorite, the shovel, and its identical but uglier and less lovable twin, the snow shovel. I'm from Central Canada, so I'll do without the snow shoveling in my fantasy zombie game, thank you very much. Shovels though, easy to find, they're in the regular swinging category, and it clocks a respectable 68 damage per second. However, with only a 2 times multiplier on its critical, it is not breaking into the top 10. Okay, we now find ourselves here, ready for spot number 10, and actually we have a perfect tie for 9th and 10th places. We'll look first at the double-bladed canoe paddle, which is dealing a whopping 73 damage per second. It has a good base damage and a massive 50% critical hit chance to deal double damage, so if you find it, pick this one up. Next, tied up with the 73 damage as well, we have the hunting knife. This one is fast and furious, being in the fastest stab category, and it also has an amazing 50% critical hit chance. However, keep in mind that this one has a short reach, meaning that it's not without risk. We're getting into 8th place now, and I'm sure you expected to see this one. We have the regular axe, swinging in with a proper 91 damage per second. A high base damage and a 5 times critical damage multiplier means look out if this thing is swinging your way. Standing in 7th place then, we have the spiked baseball bat. I honestly didn't expect to see this one, but we're looking at 99 damage per second on this punked out lovely. Again, 5 times critical damage multiplier here is a big factor. And now we're getting into the big guns, starting with number 6, the machete, where you can hack and slash your way through a crowd in no time with your 162 damage per second, slaying as you go. This weapon has more than double the average base damage of its peers, with a 5 times critical multiplier to boot, so if you see this one, you take it, no questions. The pickaxe though, okay, this one holds up to a slightly higher standard in 5th place with a massive 173 damage per second. Its base damage is less than the machete, yeah, but its critical multiplier of 9, that's right, 9, means it's an absolute beast in a fight. And we're getting closer to the cream of the crop now with spot number 4. We're going to have to give this one to the garden fork. I've never thought much of it, but we're looking at 188 damage per second here, so I better think again. The source of this one's power is a respectable base damage, coupled with an insane 10 times multiplier on its critical hit. Okay, but I did sort of lie to you. Actually, there are 2 weapons better than the garden fork, and they're both craftable spears. Actually, if I'm being totally honest with you, spears occupy 14 of the top 20 damage spots for damage output. So everyone you've been hearing saying spears are OP, they're right, and now we know why. So what I've done, I've just bundled all the spears up and smashed them into 3rd place together, which is technically, legally, the spot held by the master of all spears, second to none, as far as spears go. We are spot number 3. But this is the spear with the machete. This thing wrecks, putting out 248 damage per swing as part of the fastest speed category. It has significant base damage, a 30% chance to deal 10 times damage, in addition to its ridiculous reach. So no surprise to you maybe, but spears are endgame level fighting material. Okay, so I know you were waiting to see this one, and here it is. Standing in a class of its own, up in a lofty 2nd place, we have the wood axe. This monster puts out 332 damage per second as a result of a base damage that is almost double compared to all the other weapons we talked about. Plus, it has a 50% chance to deal 12 times the damage. It might be tempting to run off and live in the woods with this one, but you can be a re-killing machine up against the hordes in the cities if you have this one at your side. And now we get to number 1, master of all, uncontested champion, the titan of melee weapons, zombie lore favorite, and the Kill Bill special, the katana. The katana deals nearly 8 times the average amount of damage of all other melee weapons. On top of that, it has a 30% chance to deal 10 times that normal damage. It's only in the 2nd fastest speed category, but it puts every other weapon to shame, fast and slow, with its obliterating 1,066 damage per second. This is unnecessary. This is cruelty to zombie kind. This weapon is to be feared by shamblers and sprinters alike. Honestly, if you are a senior player and you're trying to bring some new people into the game, just give them one of these and watch them go. And that's it. We've hit spot number 1 out of 10, which means the top 10 list is done. I had a lot of fun learning all this stuff here today, and actually I have loads more to share with you. Now that we have data on weapon speed, we have so much to talk about for melee weapons, and honestly for me, that's where the thrill of this game is standing toe-to-toes with a legion of infected and coming out on top. If you want to come along with me on this melee adventure, make sure you subscribe and ding that notification bell because we are just getting this conversation started. For now, I'm going to go to sleep because holy zomboids, am I tired. And I hope when I come back at it with the next video that you'll be here ready to talk about the latest beatstick research and gossip with me. Until then, I hope you find that favorite beatstick of yours. Stay safe out there in the end times, and good luck, survivors.